Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Is Wonder Man a breath of fresh air in the MCU? We are going to be talking about all this and more on another What's News episode. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the Priest of the Geeks, and we have so much to talk about tonight in the culture of pop, in the world of geekdom. So much news. I am Kevin Schaefer, one of your hosts. I am here with one of my favorite geekologists, Evan Garcia. Evan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here talking all the what's news with what's happening. It's going to be fun. Always fun being here.
Man, this one's going to be a blast. We were just talking before recording about how it's been a long winter here in North Carolina. Still, we're still in the middle of that. It's been ridiculously cold and we've had snowstorms, so we've been home a lot. But the advantage of that is we've been watching a lot of good stuff in the geek world, and we have plenty to talk about tonight. So, we're going to, a little preview, as I alluded to in the intro. We're going to be talking about Wonder Man. We're going to be talking about some horror movies I saw recently, the Fallout season 2, and we're also, because we haven't really gotten to do a Stranger Things episode yet because things got a little crazy with the holidays, we easily could do an episode, but we do want to share our thoughts on Stranger Things 5 in as concise a manner as we possibly can. So that's a little preview for you. And hey, if you are joining here either live or you're listening to this one later, hey, thank you so much for joining tonight. We're really excited. And if you want to support, hey, like, subscribe, share. We know every podcast tells you that, but it really does help us out. So please, tell your friends about the show. If you're new here, welcome. And really the best way to support us is if you click on the link in the description. You can find out ways to support the show, check out our merch, all that good stuff. So, But Evan, I'm very excited for tonight. So, and also I want to give a shout out to we have many great Patreon subscribers out there. Tonight, I want to give a shout out to Austin Nance. Austin, thanks so much for your support of the show. We really appreciate it. Well, Evan, before we get into the main topic tonight, let us do our lightning round where we hit on quick things we've been geeking out on lately. So
sounds good.
Perfect. Well, Evan, what are your picks tonight for your lightning round?
I have two I'll squeeze in here. One is the new Muppet Show episode that dropped a couple days ago, I think, and fantastic. I was smiling the whole time. I had it reminded me of watching it when I was a kid.
For my lightning round, I want to shout out that Shrinking is back for season 3 on Apple TV. One of my absolute favorite shows. Is a brilliant series. If you've not seen it, definitely check it out. It's a brilliant comedy drama. Jason Segel, Jessica Williams, Harrison Ford, brilliant ensemble cast, and I'm loving season 3 so far, especially because Michael J. Fox is in this season, and that was a wonderful addition to the cast, so I'm very excited for that. And then a little gem that I found over the weekend, again, being stuck inside with the snowstorm here in North Carolina. This was very apt for that, but I discovered an older Stephen King series that I'd never seen before. That's on Disney Hulu called aptly it's Stephen King's Storm of the Century.
Oh, cool.
It was a 3-episode. Have you seen that? Yeah. Like that was a good. That's a great. This was honestly a little gem that I had not seen before. And it's interesting because I'm a huge Midnight Mass fan. The Mike Flanagan Netflix series, and this was a prominent inspiration for that. This was not, but unlike a lot of Stephen King works, it was not based on a novel or short story. He wrote it straight for TV as a miniseries, and it was excellent. So I watched that over while being snowed in over the weekend, and it was great.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So so in the whole theme park world, he a Dino Land closed as an Animal Kingdom. And because of that, I was like, I want to look into some history of the park and the land and stuff. And one thing that I thought that maybe the audience might find a fun fact is that when the Dino Land opened, one of the songs included in the background music was a Stephen Curtis Chapman song called "Dancing with a Dinosaur," which is super interesting because that song is a CCM song, but it has nothing to do with literal dinosaurs. It's a metaphor for not changing in a relationship and stuff like that. So it is. I thought that was the funniest little piece of information that I've heard in a long time.
Don't you love that? I'm the same way where I love picking up on those obscure bits of like pop culture information that it doesn't bring me any money, and it brings me and there are probably more things I could store my brain with, but I love that stuff that it makes it for interesting conversations like this. So I love it. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Evan, any other lightning round picks for you?
I saw a YouTube video where a guy fixed one of his old classic arcade cabinets. That was pretty fun.
Ooh, nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah. I also I watch a lot of YouTube as well, like mainly different movie channels and stuff. But yeah, I've spotlighted some of those channels. I do.
Maybe throw in the trailer for Daredevil Born Again season 2. That was really good.
Yeah. Absolutely. I do want to touch on when we get to Wonder Man, kind of the MCU in general, and I'm actually really stoked for this year.
Perfect.
So yeah, it looks amazing though. Yeah. Awesome. Excellent. Well, let's get into it because I know we got a lot of topics to cover tonight. So now, Evan, I don't know about you, but January is usually when I see really terrible movies because it's the January and February are typically dump months they quote because it's post-Oscar season. It's usually where studios just dump the mode, but occasionally there's a gem. This year, however, I have seen 2 great horror movies all right off the bat in January 2026. And the first is 28 Years, The Bone Temple, which I am just about to heap praise over. Evan, are you what's kind of your background with the 28 Days franchise?
True story. I saw the 28 Days in school. I forgot when that came out. I think it was in middle school, and we saw it at a after school. It wasn't a club, but it was just a few of us were hanging out with one of the teachers after school, and he put it on. So, but beyond that, I have not seen the rest. The 28 Years or this one, but I would love to. But feel free to spoil it if you want.
Well, first off, I love that you had a middle school teacher show you 28 Days Later. That's fantastic.
I forgot when that came out.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Shout out to that teacher. They're cool. That's awesome. Well, and it's interesting because for me, I had seen 28 Days like years ago. I don't remember exactly when, on DVD or whatever. And I've got the DVD, and then I rewatched it when the first 28 Years Later came out last year. I did not see 28 Weeks Later until recently. That's sort of that one is the only one in this series that's very loosely connected. It was the only one that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland really didn't have much involvement in, and they're credited as executive producers, but neither of them wrote or directed. Whereas all of the others, they've Danny Boyle directed the original 28 Days Later. Alex Garland wrote it. The same was true for 28 Years Later last summer. And then the sequel to that, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, was directed by Nia DaCosta, who did The Marvels and the Candyman reboot, which I really like. And then the movie Hedda, which came out, I think, last year or the year before. And because they were shooting these ones back to back, so Alex Garland wrote both of them, but Danny Boyle couldn't take on both because they were being shot simultaneously. So Nia they hired Nia DaCosta to direct this one. And yeah, just a little bit of background since I don't even need to go into heavy spoilers, but just a little setup is that so obviously the 28 Days Later is it looks kind of like almost standard zombie story by comparison today, because there have been so many zombie movies and shows and comics and everything since I can't remember if it was 2000 or like right around that time when it came out. But anyway, over the last quarter century, there have been, a gazillion zombie stories. So the original one is a fairly simple narrative of a guy wakes up in a hospital, 28 days into the zombie apocalypse. He's very distraught, and, he meets up with a group of survivors, and the real villains of the story are these sadistic humans. That becomes sort of the central conflict. And so it follows. It's still great, but it follows kind of a more simple narrative by comparison. 28 Years Later, it focuses on this island nation that has been quarantined because most of the rest of the world has found an antidote to the virus, but certain areas have not, and so this civilization has grown up in the wake of the apocalypse, and they kind of resorted to sort of a medieval way of living. You see images of like medieval Ireland and England, like if you almost get these kind of wild, like Braveheart images that are interspersed like throughout the movie in years, and it's fascinating. And the main focus of that movie is the thing that was interesting is when I went to go see it last summer, I went in not knowing A, that it was part of a planned trilogy, and B, that it was going to be a coming of age story, actually. Okay. So because they put Aaron Taylor Johnson as the lead in the trailer, and while he doesn't play a prominent part, the story of that movie is really about his son, played by Alfie Williams. And, he's like 12. He's going out on his first missions with his father to the mainland. And, because in this world, you have to grow up sooner. And so his journey to becoming a man happens much sooner. He's having to learn how to fight zombies, protect his people, do all that at a very young age. And so the story follows that, and then he's trying to get a cure for his sick mother, and played by Jodie Comer. And in that movie, there is a character Ray Fiennes plays named Dr. Kelson, who is kind of this mysterious figure initially, and he plays a part in the third act of that film. And, we learn he's this kind of like secluded but very good-willed doctor. And that was a fascinating thing too, because this is kind of a spoiler, but I for that first movie, but in this series, but like I was thinking that he was going to be a villain, because that's usual trope. It's like, okay, they're going to like they're trying to like get to this guy. Oh, it's going to go horrible. And I really like that they exactly. And I was really happy that they didn't go that route, because I loved his character, and they set him up really well for the sequel. So fast forward to the sequel, and also at the end of 28 Years Later, Alfie Williams' character meets this very bizarre group of this like kind of like gang cult that they call themselves the Jimmies, and we are introduced to the boy version of that character played by Jack O'Connell at the very beginning of the movie, and it's this really bizarre scene at the very end of the movie, and you're not really sure if they're there to save this kid or the kid's name is Spike. You're not sure if they're there to save Spike or if they're going to be, a force of evil. But when the Bone Temple starts, we quickly learn, this is a sadistic, horrifying group of cultists. And actually, Jack O'Connell's character, the main Jimmy, he's actually inspired by a British cult figure who was like convicted in a series of sex crimes and so it's a very like disturbing Ezekiel, but that's it. But that sets up this movie. Is it kind of tells two stories involving both the Jimmies, and Spike is now kind of captured and like forced into this group, and him trying to survive, and then it's juxtaposed with the continuing narrative of Dr. Kelson, because again we are introduced to him in 20 years later, but the role here is expanded on, and he's doing experiments and trying to figure out more about the remaining infected and what they can do. And there's this big like there's this one zombie from the first movie that they bring back here named Samson, and he has this like biblical like
the hair
giant persona, the hair, everything. And it does a really unique storyline there with him and Dr. Kelson that I really liked. So all that to say, I mean that's just the basic narrative setup, but this movie is incredible. What I love is that, especially coming off a visionary like Danny Boyle, Nia DaCosta really adds her own flair to this world, her own touch, and I mean, she does amazing things from the horror element, but she also creates just like really compelling characters, and these are two absolutely unhinged performances from Jack O'Connell and Ray Fiennes. I think this is one of Ray Fiennes' best performances of his career. And that's saying something.
At first. I was like, wait a minute, he is in this?
Yeah.
Like, no
yeah, that would be. Daniel Day-Lewis came out of retirement.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
No way.
But yeah. That would be crazy, but no, but that's what I love about Ray Fiennes here is that because he's known for, of course, like Voldemort and Schindler's List and everything, but he's also done great comedy with like the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Wes Anderson film in particular, and I think in this performance he really combines elements of those two. There is a scene that is, I don't want to spoil here because I really want people to go see this movie. But let's just say he puts on an act here, and he puts on a major show, and he has an amazing soundtrack accompanying him. But that's where he really combines his personas of playing villains and playing over-the-top comedic characters into one magnificent performance. And I was absolutely hooked. So, I mean, and here it's just like, I really didn't know where the story was going to go next. I mean, again, it's very, the Jimmies are horrible and sadistic. But juxtaposing it with the Dr. Kelson storyline really kept me hooked. So it didn't feel like another zombie movie of stuff I'd seen before. It really felt fresh. It felt invigorating. And it sets up an interesting thing at the end of the movie for the third, which I won't spoil there, but they have greenlit the third film. Danny Boyle is looking to return to direct for that. I love Danny Boyle, but I want to see Nia DaCosta do another because she just did amazing work here.
It's always good to see
incredible
when a franchise like this or different ones, they can switch directors and switch creatives, and they just not completely fall apart. Like
100%. Yeah,
it's always nice to see.
And And it was still like it's very much a cohesive narrative because like Alex Garland still wrote this, and him and Danny Boyle were producers. Cool. So like, and I actually got to see an early screening of this film that had a Q&A, a live stream Q&A with Nia DaCosta and Jack O'Connell afterwards. And nice. They were talking about how she came onto the project, and it's cool because the Alamo Drafthouse does screenings and Q&As like that, so it was really cool to see. But she was talking about how she came on board and kind of what, either limitations she had and really she said that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland met with her and, they kind of, obviously she had the script and everything, but they gave her kind of an overview, but they really let her do what she wanted from a directorial standpoint. And I really like that. I mean, they were there kind of to, if there were any questions needed, and, they wanted to have a overall shared vision, but they really wanted her to let her make the movie she wanted to. And I really appreciated that because, again, she just did amazing sequences. The cinematography is incredible. The music's great. These are just some of the best performances I've seen in a while. So I could go on and on about this one, but suffice it to say, I loved it. And I know I think with the snowstorms and it's January, there's a lot of movie going that get to go down around this time. So this didn't do great at the box office, but I hope more people see it while it's still in theaters, and then definitely check it out once it comes to streaming and physical media, because this is could easily be one of my favorites of the year. I know we got a long way to go in 2026, but talk about a amazing start for me. So I cannot recommend this one enough. Yeah.
Is it still in theaters? Okay.
It is, yeah. So because it opened in mid-January. I saw it because I saw it the first or second week in January because I saw an early screening. But I think it came out around, I think it was MLK weekend. So it's been out just a few weeks at this point. There's probably more limited screenings now, but I would definitely go see it on the big screen if you are able to, because it is very much a rewarding theatrical experience.
Right on.
So
cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, and then on that note, I have another horror movie I want to talk about in the trend of, although this is more comedy. Evan, do you know anything about this one?
I do not. I saw the poster for it at the movies, and that's it.
Okay, cool. So, Send Help is a new film from the great Sam Raimi, the director of the Evil Dead trilogy, Spider-Man, all that, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, one of my all-time favorites. I actually got to meet Raimi at GalaxyCon a couple years ago, and it was fantastic. Nicest guy. So as soon as I saw this trailer and it said from director Sam Raimi, I'm like, well, I'm there. I don't mean to do anything else, but yeah, this is this feels like a return to form. Not that he's ever really straight, but by return to form, I mean the kind of original horror comedy that he made back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Nice. If you've ever seen the movie Drag Me to Hell, there's a lot of comparisons there. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that one, Evan.
I have not.
That's a really good one. I highly recommend. But Send Help. So this stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Rachel McAdams is this very quirky employee they never say what kind of, this is one of those movies where it's a corporate environment, but they never actually say what they do, whether it's a marketing company or whatever. But it's it's typical corporation. She's been there a long time and is seeking a promotion, and she was supposed to get one because she had a close relationship with the former CEO and founder, but that CEO dies, and so the company is inherited by the guy's son, played by Dylan O'Brien, who is this huge misogynistic jerk who and is the very typical bro who hires his frat buddy as his VP over Rachel McAdams, the character, who's much more qualified. But he does agree to bring her on a business trip to, I think I can't remember if it was China or Thailand, while they're on this private plane with a few members of the company, a storm hits, and the plane crashes on a desert island, and her and him are the only two survivors. And so now they're stuck on an island. Obviously, Dylan O'Brien's character has been pampered his whole life. He doesn't know what to do on an island.
Perfect.
Whereas Rachel McAdams' character, and I love this, she's a huge Survivor fan, so she's been preparing for this for her life, and I love it. So the power dynamic shift. And that's really the initial setup. There's a lot of actual, like, I was not expecting as many twists and turns in this story. When I saw the trailer, I thought it was, like, pretty straightforward. I was actually really surprised by, the ways the story surprised me. The comedy, again, is fantastic. But it is a story of this, these power dynamic shifting. You feel kind of a tug and pull because both her character is not fully redeemable, and also his character has some redeeming aspects. He's still a jerk, but there's this kind of like, pull into, who are you going to root for here, and what's going to happen, and how is it going to play out. But yeah, this was an absolute blast. And if you know anything about Sam Raimi's films, particularly Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, is that he can do over-the-top gore like no one else. And there is a scene here where Rachel McAdams goes toe-to-toe with a wild hog, like a
Wait, what?
and like a giant pig, and
That's funny.
and it's a CG one. It's super over the top. It is bloody as can be, and oh my gosh, like that alone is easy. Like when I'm gonna think about my favorite scenes of the year at the end of the 2026, that's easily gonna pop up there because oh my gosh, it was exhilarating.
That's funny because I have a giant wild pig story, so now I do.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long is it?
It's
okay. It's,
I was hunting with some friends. I didn't want to use any guns, but I still wanted to go. So they were like, "Yeah, cool, come. I'll come hang." So I'm just walking around in the bushes and stuff like that with a couple of my buddies, and then all of a sudden, oh look, a little baby pig. It's cute. So I decided to pick it up for some reason. I picked up the baby. I was like, "Oh, it's cute." And then my friends were like, "Evan," and I'm like, "What? Put the pig down." I'm like, "Why? What's wrong?" All of a sudden, I hear coming from the bushes, the scuffling, and this giant, like the size of a car almost, like a little Mini Cooper hog, mama pig, comes out and runs at me, and I throw the pig and I start running, and they're all like, "Run, run, run."
I love it. Honestly, that would fit right into this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, you could easily be in a Sam Raimi movie, Evan. I love it. But it's that kind of just like ridiculous over the top. And what I love too is that, I mean, Rachel McAdams is one of my favorite actors too. She does, comedy, drama, everything so well. And I like her and Dylan O'Brien really understood the tone of this movie that I think like I feel like other actors and other directors, if they were handed this script, they might, take it either too seriously or try to do things. Like this was Sam Raimi didn't write this one, but I think the script, if I'm correct, I think it was like kind of floating around blacklisted for a while, and then he got a hold of it.
Sure.
But him, Rachel McAdams, and Dylan O'Brien understood exactly what this movie needed to be, and they delivered through and through. Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien have fantastic chemistry. They make, they just are so entertaining together. And yeah, it's just one ridiculously over the top sequence. That not one after another, but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the over the top gore. There's just like, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's one. This is another one. I know I sound like a broken record on every episode when I say go see this in a theater, but I really mean it with this one because I loved seeing this last Thursday night, getting the audience reactions and watching this with a crowd.
Nice.
It made it all the better.
Yeah.
Like, not that this wouldn't be good at home, but this is a perfect crowd pleaser where you're going to get so much out of it. Seeing it on the big screen, seeing it with others. And it's just delightfully entertaining. Again, if you love Sam Raimi like I do, definitely go see it. But yeah, that was like kind of the biggest thing for me, as I was surprised by how much the story took different turns and led to a really, I thought, spot on ending that was just as funny and over the top as the rest of the movie. It was, So, I mean, it was a 2 for 2. I mean, like with January horror movies. I mean, I also saw Primate, but I don't really want to talk about that one. That one was but like, so if you have like one misfire, that was okay, but I had, 2 great theatrical experiences to kick off the year. That made me very happy. Yeah. So that is it for me for January horror movies. I know we got a lot more to cover, but definitely highly recommend both 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and Send Help.
Bone Temple is such a cool title too.
It is. Oh my gosh. It's fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
So
let's go.
Awesome. Well, Evan, I'm going to hand the next topic over to you.
All right.
I want to hear about Fallout Season 2.
Yeah. Fallout Season 2 is here, and it's a come and gone because it just finished, and it was it was really well paced sequel to the first one, to the first season. Every episode was a continuation and a slow build up to the craziness of the last episode, but they still contained it. Every episode it wasn't a filler episode where we knew that we were going to get back to the storyline. Like, every character had its place. We saw some new characters come back. So this is after the fact that they found out about the explosions from the government and from the corporations. So now the daughter is on the find. She's trying to find her dad. That her dad turned out to be a big deal, and one of the main causes that brought along the destruction of the world. And she wanted to find him and to bring him to justice. And she's traveling with the ghoul, and they have some adventures that show their differences in her like naivete and his more experienced, more jaded. There's actually some comedy in there, which was appreciated. And then they have the storyline for the different military factions, which I forgot what their names were. But that a character arc was fantastic in the sense of it brought back some other characters, and it changed the stakes of the whole season. And then Macaulay Culkin shows up in a few episodes and plays a role that is very comedic, and it's kind of timely too in our kind of state of our politics and whatnot. But like I said, that every episode was a build up to the finale, which they paid it off. I don't like. It's kind of a cliffhanger, but not really. but they did answer all the questions, and they set up another season. And they are all kind of separate again. But yes, overall, I'm glad that it wasn't just a way to move the story along. They actually took the time to flesh out these characters even more. And yeah, so Fallout Season 2, really cool special effects, the creature design, and the goriness, and that was all there. And yeah, it's good stuff.
I probably will check it out at some point. I've not gotten to season 2 yet. So we did an episode on season 1 back a couple years ago, and I was on that because I was sharing the perspective of I had never played the games or anything,
Okay.
and I just went in fresh to the show, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed season 1. I haven't gotten it. This kind of came out. Well, I think it started around the holidays, and I was watching Pluribus and finishing up Welcome to Derry and Stranger Things. So there was a lot going on at the time. So I have not gotten to it yet. But I did like the setup, and then I love like Kyle MacLachlan playing the father. I love the ghoul. I love all that stuff. So I do want to check this out. Would you say like how? Yeah.
No, with Kyle, there were some moments of kind of Twin Peaksy kind of moments, like. Really bizarre, and I kind of picked up on that, so I was like, nice.
I figured the casting was intentional on that. I mean, because Twin Peaks, and then he was also in the famous the one I love, the David Lynch Dune from the 80s. Right. So oh great! I don't care what anyone says, I love that movie. How would you say this compares to season 1?
I think season 1 has the advantage of being a little bit more simple and not so intertwined, or like, I'm not saying that season 2 did a bad job, but season 1 was more linear, more simple, more here is a girl. And now she's leaving home, and she's going out to the big world, and so yeah.
That's fair, yeah. Because it did have that really good setup at the end of season 1. They're going to go to new environments and all that, and then are you a fan of the game too?
I never played them. I have friends that were they were really big into the games. But I didn't even know too much of the story either, so I was pretty new when I started the show.
And I from what I know too, it's they kind of tell they don't follow the exact same narrative. They kind of take elements and kind of craft their own and do different things. But I mean, because isn't the ghoul not even really a bit
from what I heard
more on that in the show?
There are ghouls, but there's not the ghoul,
one singular, right. And I mean, it's Walton Goggins, so I mean, you got to make him the iconic role.
He plays. There's a lot of the flashbacks to where he was still a human, and cool. And it's a cool framework to see how he was before and how he is now. They play with that framing a lot, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part of season 1. So I probably will check this out. I do like it. I mean, it's a good show. And the visuals are pretty incredible. Awesome. Well, any other thoughts on this one?
I hope that they don't. I hope that there's a final point to this story. I hope they don't go on for 10 seasons. It's maybe 3, maybe 4 seasons, because I think that this could get kind of dragged out to a point where they're just kind of making it to just kind of make it. And I hope it doesn't go there,
Absolutely. I mean, I could say and I mean it's Amazon, so
Right.
money is king over there. Like
exactly.
I agree. I hope they do get, like I could see this as maybe a 3-4 season kind of show.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I'll check it out soon. So that the Fallout Season 2. And next we have, as we alluded to in the intro, we got a big MCU show to talk about, or at least what I think is one. And we'll also talk about kind of the state of the MCU right now. But Wonder Man is the new, the first a TV series from the MCU of 2026.
This year, right?
This is This is an 8-episode live action series. They dropped the whole season on Disney Plus.
Nice.
And so we'll get into that too, because I think there are reasons for that. I'm glad they did, because this was a really nice binge. They're shorter episodes, and so I liked getting the whole story here. There are some shows I like more the weekly format, but since they're only 30 minutes here, I liked getting the whole story here. But yeah, this series is about Simon Williams, played by Yahya Abdul Mateen II. And he is a struggling actor in LA who also has superpowers, though he conceals them, and we'll get to that as to why. We'll try to, I don't know, we'll allude to that a little bit. I don't want to give full spoilers because I want people to go watch this.
Right.
But we'll talk about that a little bit. And in the first episode, he is trying to get an audition for a movie reboot of a superhero he loved as a kid named Wonder Man, and so he's trying to land the role for this big movie after losing job after job. And in the pilot, he meets none other than Trevor, Ben Kingsley's character, who we first met in Iron Man 3. And this is why I love. Well, first I have to ask, do you remember when Iron Man 3 came out and they revealed that twist that
dude.
that the Mandarin
what?
is that what was your reaction to it? Because do you remember what kind of your initial thoughts were
thinking,
back when
dang, they wasted so much money on Ben Kingsley to just kind of flip it like that. I was like, no way.
Yeah. I also had a similar, I vividly remember, let's see, Iron Man 3 came out my freshman year of college. So I was, because it was pretty cool, because Iron Man I was in toward the end of middle school. And then Avengers, the first one, it was end of my senior year of high school. And then Iron Man 3, I'm in my freshman year of college. And it was a similar reaction. I was like, wait, what? That, I didn't get it at the time. And I figured part of me, I guess, assumed that they would bring in the actual Mandarin in another movie at some point, which of course they did years later for Shang-Chi, but it was a long time after. And I'm glad they did it there. It worked, but I was not thinking at the time, I was not thinking at the time how clever a decision it was, because it ended up opening a huge creative door for Marvel to do with this character. And here, I think it's the best use of the character by far, because not only does he serve as a mentor to Simon, and they get to have this excellent relationship and this dynamic where they talk about acting and they get into the art of acting and the art of theater, in a really intricate and fascinating manner. But also there's the element here of, okay, so he's been, he played the Mandarin, had to play, he's been in prison, he got out, but he still has, government agencies after him, and here it's the Department of Damage Control is after him, and they hire him, and they want him to get close to Simon because they know Simon has superpowers, and that becomes the impetus for the show.
Which I was wondering, how do they know that? But I guess that's just one thing that we just have to assume.
What they how
do they know
knowing that Simon has powers? Yeah, I think Damage Control, I just assume are really shady, and they're keeping track. And And also, I really came into the show not really knowing anything about the character of Simon
Same.
Williams, and I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos and the character's origin in the comics is very different.
Right.
He's he gets his powers from Baron Zemo.
Oh, wow.
What I think here, they haven't officially confirmed, but I'm gonna assume for the time being, at least, that Simon is a mutant in the MCU.
That's what I've heard.
Just
yeah.
because, that's kind of what, because we're moving toward the mutant saga. His powers are generated by emotion, particularly anger, and he learns to control them. That's a very mutant thing, and
True.
and we never see in the show an origin where he didn't fall into an acid thing or get his powers in some
Right.
accident, at least that we know of. So I'm gonna assume that he's mutant, and I think the Department of Damage Control is going to play a major part in the mutant saga, and they're going to be the kind of Bolivar Trask type people that are keeping tabs on mutants. So I'm just going to assume that that's why they know he has
the
powers.
friends of humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's somewhere in that vein, and that's why.
That makes sense.
But yeah. And so they set Trevor up to target Simon. But then of course what ends up happening is they develop this wonderful friendship and end up teaming up together. This was such a well-written, well-acted series. I didn't get to watch it in one sitting, I wanted to, but I had to split it up over 2 nights, but just because it came out in the work week, but I absolutely loved it. I mean, this was, as I said in the intro, this I think is very much a breath of fresh air in the MCU after a lot of ups and downs over recent years. I think particularly in the TV realm, there have been certainly some good shows, but a lot of them that and this is one that no, it's not a typical superhero show. Right. If you're expecting that, you might be disappointed, but I actually thought, even as a big comic book superhero fan, I liked that this was a very refreshing, self-contained narrative that prioritizes story and character over spectacle and world building. So I did not mind at all that there was very little superhero in here. Evan, I don't know, I'm rambling here. What are your thoughts?
I think a key thing to say is that this is classified as Marvel Television, and then it's a Spotlight feature. So these are kind of more standalone-y, and they have more freedom to be like what this became. And what I was super surprised at, a character piece. It's just, here's a character and we're going to flesh him out. Oh yeah, and he's got some powers that he's trying to keep secret. Other than that, it's just a fantastic, trying to learn about yourself and trying to put yourself out into the world and accepting and realizing the nuances in yourself while you try to make it in the world, And I didn't know anything about the character. I knew about the character, and I knew that he just kind of dressed really nice from what I saw. So when I pulled up the show, I loved that first episode. And that second episode, I was like, I know exactly where this is going to go. I predicted the ending, even the post-credit sequence. I predicted it. I was like, but when that finally happened, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad because the journey to get to the end was so satisfying. Those two characters interacting with each other were so great, so great. One thing I wanted to pull up is that they focused on the fandom of this kind of stuff. And the main character, Simon, he is obsessed with his character called Wonder Man because his father took him to the cinema to watch it when he was a kid, and then that kind of captured his wonder. And then I loved it when they showed him and his father. They went to go get burgers after the movie, and they were just kind of nerding out on the movie. It was so beautiful to see that, because I try to be like that with my son and kind of be like, I try not to force him to like what I like, but I kind of bring out what I like. And when he likes it, he really catches on to it. And we kind of talk to each other like that. And that was a cute little moment. And the whole family dynamic of his mom and his brother trying to give him pressure for not having a real job, and them that whole side of trying to be creative in a world that is more industry based and stuff like that. So I could go on, but I love this show. It was such a surprise. Such a good surprise.
It really is, and what I love too is, like, I mean, it doesn't make Simon 100% likable. Like, I mean, a lot of the reasons he's failing at the beginning is very self-inflicted. Like, there's this wonderful scene in the pilot where he got a job in a scene in American Horror Story, and at first he's like complimenting all the director and cast, like, "Hey, I know you from Sons of Anarchy. I love your work there. You think it's gonna be really great?" And then it's like, it's one thing to like give a note here, like, "Hey, is this okay to make this choice?" But he keeps going to the point where he's like, awkward. "Hey, do you think we should have this?" I felt
so cringy for him. I was like, "Stop it, bro! Cringy. Stop it!"
Like, bro, just like he to the point where he's like asking if they can switch out the book there that's on the desk, because he's like, "Well, this is a professor of this subject. You think they would really be reading this?" Because like I'm like, "Bro, no, you're gonna like." I mean, and then of course he gets, "Oh, so we just talked to the showrunner. They decided to cut your CEO, so you're relieved. But thank you so much for showing up today." And I'm like, it was hard to feel like bad for him in that moment, because I'm like, "Bro, you kind of did that." So like, and then but it's also that's very much a trait of a lot of actors, and I love that Trevor becomes his mentor there and gets him to stop overthinking and overanalyzing as much, because at a certain point you have to surrender to the character and to the scene, and that was
the two different ways of acting. And because you can be super obsessive about all the details and stuff. Like, there's some roles that clearly they will benefit from that kind of approach, but sometimes you just got to feel it. I'm talking like if I know about acting, so
Hey, I've got the theater background, so but you're very accurate in that respect. So, but no, there are some great episodes here too. One I really love was the callback episode where this is where they get to meet with the director of the Wonder Woman movie, and they go to his house along with several other actors up for the roles, because the story, like, Simon's auditioning for Wonder Man, Trevor is auditioning for the best friend, and they go, and the actor who plays the director in this movie is the same guy who played the minister of Baravia in Superman, and essentially he plays like the same character, just as an artsy character, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. So I love that episode. I also, of course, love the one about midway through the series where they do an origin of another character, because the question lingering over oh my gosh. Because the question lingering over the first few episodes is, okay, why does he hide his superpowers completely? Because like this is very much a lived-in world where superheroes are normal out there. Like, why is he not using them? They answer that in episode 4 in a brilliant way, where they do this character origin that explains why Simon cannot do this, specifically related to his career field. And I'm like, this was amazing. So
where did Josh Gad go? Where did Josh Gad go? It's the question. Will Josh Gad return in Avengers Doomsday?
But yeah, I love that. And now, so you mentioned earlier that they dropped the whole series of time, and you looked at it. Now, part of the reason this was, I don't like the reason that this was, and I don't like that Disney and Marvel have done a terrible job marketing this show. They basically just dropped it, and even friends I've talked to are like, "Oh, that's out." So this story behind this show is that so it was created by Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest, and Destin Daniel Cretton is the director of Shang-Chi, and then he's also directing the Spider-Man movie this summer, and he directed the first couple episodes of the series and co-created it. But it was actually shot a couple years ago, and then there was the actor and writer strikes. There was a bunch of overhaul with Marvel Television. There was a point where, because this was under the Marvel Spotlight banner and it was kind of its own thing, there was a point where they considered not releasing the show and doing it, writing it off as a tax write-off. And I'm so glad that they didn't do that. But it also means I don't think they had a lot of real plans to promote this. It was a risky prop move to do a character that comic book readers aren't as familiar with, and that doesn't have a lot of mainstream recognition. But I'm glad they dropped it, but yeah, that's part of. I'm hoping word of mouth will word of mouth has been great, and the critical reception has been great. So I hope this does elevate the series and get it to a point where we can get a season 2. We can see this character again, because I really want this story to continue. But yeah, I want Marvel to take more risks like this, because and same with Star Wars. Disney has a new CEO, but if the new Disney CEO is listening to Systematic Geekology, which he should, make more stuff like this that takes risks, that isn't exactly what you expect, doesn't fit into the formula, because people enjoy it.
Yeah, they have 100 days when they get it into office to do kind of crazy stuff, kind of shake up things.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? One thing that I realized halfway through this series, I'm like, where have I seen this guy before? Where have I seen the actor before? And he's from the Aquaman movies. I was like, I completely forgot. I completely forgot.
He was Black Manta in the Aquaman movies. He's also, I think his best role is in the Watchmen series, the Damon Lindelof created one. Right. He's excellent in that. If you've never seen that show,
I've heard he's really good.
It's so good. Yeah, it's amazing. So, no, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, wonderful actor. I thought it was a perfect fit for this role.
And that one episode with, I don't want to spoil it, but it was like the shock. Excuse me? That one episode, if you know what I mean. I was just whoa, that just happened. It was one of those that I'm not going to forget. I didn't want to spoil it, though.
No, it has a lot of them. Again, it's just this is just really excellent storytelling that, that exists in the same universe as in the MCU, but it's they were not afraid to just let Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest really do their own thing and work their magic and just tell a great story. And based on where this ends, I really want to see it continue. So we'll see. But yeah. Awesome. Well, we could keep going on about Wonder Woman, but suffice to say, go watch it. And I know we're running low on time, and we have a big topic next. But I know I said we could easily do an entire episode on the next topic. We probably will at some point. But we had the holidays, and me, Will, and Laura just didn't get a chance to do an episode on the second half and the finale of Stranger Things 5. And it's obviously concluded since then. So I did want to take a little time just to share our overall thoughts on how the show ended. And there was also the making of documentary too, which I don't know if you watched that, but I got to see it.
For reminding me, I completely forgot about it, but I gotta check it out.
Yeah. So Stranger Things is over. For me, it was really cool because I got to. So when I watched the series finale first at home on New Year's Eve, and then I saw it again at the Alamo the next night. So getting to see it in the theater was really cool on New Year's Day. That was a blast. So my overall thoughts, because, we did, me, Will, and Laura did that initial episode on the first 4 episodes. This was back in November. The first 4 episodes of season 5. We shared our thoughts there. Volume 1, exactly. And with Volume 2 and with the finale, I have a lot of mixed thoughts. Overall, I was satisfied with how it ended. I thought it had a really good emotional send off for these characters. And as far as this is spoiler because it's been out for I feel like anyone watching this, so spoiler, but no real big characters die other than we don't know if 11 is definitively dead or if she managed to escape into some other dimension. I love how they left that. Yeah. I do too. Well, I'll go and ask, what do you think? Are you a believer that she's alive, or do you think she's dead?
I see it the way that they proposed her story. I believe that she is alive, but we know it, but they don't know it.
I know. I definitely think either way, whether she's alive or dead, I don't think she's ever going to reunite with
that's
with
kind
Mike
of
and the
whole
company.
point, I think.
Yeah,
because they needed to let go. Yeah. They needed closure, and not closure like external closure. They needed internal closure for the whole thing that happened, and I think it was a very beautiful way of doing it when with the when they were playing that final game of their D&D campaign, the 4 and now Max, and the way that they did a Lord of the Rings ending kind of, but they framed it in a way that he was kind of telling a story on how they continue life after, and Mike was telling it, and it was just like a beautiful way to end it, but to not close it, if you know what I mean. I thought.
No, absolutely. I really love that scene. I think that was what it was really building up to. And it was this is ultimately a coming of age series where, the ending had to be about saying goodbye to their childhood and, giving kind of a general idea of where the characters might go from here. I don't think it's absolutely definitive of they all follow these paths, but you get the general idea of okay, Mike becoming a writer, Will, Dustin going off to college, Lucas and Max ending up together, all that I really liked. And, I got it, because I initially I thought I think 11's definitely alive just in some other world. I think even if she's dead though, she could still be in some kind of afterlife dimension. Sure. But either way, like you said, I think she, it's definitely, she said goodbye to the character, she's gonna go live on and somewhere else. And, they've had this great adventure, but it's time for them to all move on. But I do really love that final scene. And then the way speaking of Lord of the Rings, the way it, the title sequence is mirrored after the Return of the King one. I love that.
I picked up on that too. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So that was great. I've seen all of the criticisms. Some I agree with, some I don't. I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant going into the finale because I wasn't as crazy about the 3 episodes before that, volume 2,
right?
The
Same.
Episodes 5
they didn't
7.
really say much.
Was not crazy about those.
They didn't
say a ton, and I thought the pacing was very awkward. Mm-hmm. Me and Will were sharing a ton of memes around that time because there was I loved the ones about Max and Holly doing a podcast in the middle of
the
even running.
They're not even trying
about to escape.
Yeah.
That was absolutely hilarious. So there were definitely, when I think about season 5 as a whole, and this isn't saying it's awful, but would I put it toward the bottom of my ranking? Yes. Just because, but that's because I love season 1, season 4, and I'm more of a fan of season 2 than most people. But it doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
bad. I just, when I think about like in comparison with other seasons, I think, it's not as good. But I'll still be rewatching.
What did you think of because to me, it kind of came out of nowhere, but they did pretty good. How they set up the different, like what is the upside down and then the void and that.
Yeah.
How did you think about that? Because they kind of brought it in last minute, but
They brought it last minute. I wish they had brought it
kind of
sooner.
fleshed it out
I
more.
liked so it wasn't so much like I liked I didn't have a problem with like the actual reasons they gave, like the explanations there. It was more the execution of those, like the way they over explain stuff, the way they it was paced, like that was more my issues. But as far as the actual like, oh, this is what the upside down is and this is like Vecna's dimension, I thought all of that made sense. Like I was good with that. I agree. I wish it had been like better written and like maybe like presented a little sooner and fleshed out a little more.
They did such a good job with that final battle that
I did like that a lot, and especially seeing it on the big screen.
Everyone
that was a blast. Yeah,
had their own role to play. So now, what about the big scene that everyone's talking about? Will's coming out scene. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and it was because like I read a bunch of interviews with it. I mean, this is speaking as someone who's like, I'm not LGBT, like I am a like ally advocate, but like I was reading different like some there were some like LGBT people who thought like this is terrible, this is just like really cringy and stuff like that. Others who actually appreciate it and I mean, I read interviews where the Duffer Brothers and Noah Schnapp, who is gay as well, like I mean, they worked really hard on coming to that. I see it both ways. Like my preference would have been it to have been a more like intimate with like him and his mom and him and Mike and like kind of thing. But at the same time, I see the power of coming out in the 80s to a big group, even ones who would be predominantly supportive. That's a big deal, so I get that. The thing though that it was after that scene, so this was supposed to be this big liberating moment for him that enabled him to fight Vecna more than ever and overcome his fears. He already kind of had that moment in season 4. I mean, I'm sorry, episode 4 in volume 1. That was really the moment where that was when he conquered his fears and when he took over the Demogorgons. Like that was infinitely more powerful. Whereas in the finale, he didn't really do anything new there. There wasn't really any new powers unlocked after he had been so afraid to reveal his sexuality and really explore his own identity. And so I thought it would have opened up something more, but it really just they did kind of the same thing, there. And so that was the only thing. But yeah, I mean, so when I first saw that, I was like, this is a little cringy. I like elements of it, but overall, I would have preferred it to be a more intimate scene. It just felt a little forced,
it came
group thing. Yeah.
I kind of do agree with the notion, you kind of alluded to, that it just brought everything to a halt all of a sudden, and then
right.
Then they were clearly trying to set up something. And I was like, okay, so what are you trying to say? And then they said, like you said, the same thing that we saw in that episode in his empowerment and stuff, which is great. But I was like, okay, all right, it's good to have that, I guess.
Yeah, right. It was just I don't know. It just would have, and and again, there was just some dialogue and stuff really throughout the season. I was really, I don't know, this could be this could get worked on, but I mean, I also don't want to speak too much. I want to hear more from LGBTQ people to share their thoughts there, but that was just kind of my general thoughts on those episodes 5 through 7. It wasn't so much the plotting was ludicrous as much, so it was just the pacing and execution was my biggest issues with those episodes. But then, and so I was nervous going into the finale because I was like, how are they going to wrap all this up? But I thought they did a really good job. Like, and I liked how it was balanced between, okay, the first half is the big battle and tying everything up, and then the last half is this extended epilogue. But I think that was very appropriate. I liked seeing the core emotional moments be that has been the beating heart of the series from the very beginning, really come to a satisfying payoff in the final 45 minutes.
They were able to make such a great ending without anybody dying, really. Everyone stayed.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I did joke with friends of like, I was texting a friend that night of like, wow, if I had this much plot armor in real life, I would be invincible. But nice. So I mean, it was, but at the same, I get that it's ultimately like, yes, everyone was waiting for, who's gonna die, who's gonna die. But ultimately, I mean, this is not a Game of Thrones show. This isn't that kind of where there's this is a coming of age character-driven show, and like, yes, it makes it for a little ludicrous that like they all survive this thing, but that also paved the way for a really touching, heartfelt final 45 minutes that I'm really glad, and I loved where all the characters ended up. I mean, Steve, being a teacher and having a Little League team, that was absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
so,
and Dustin's speech at the graduation, man.
Yes.
I love how he touched on the division of like the jocks and the nerds, because they did such a good job, at least for me. Like, I did experience that a lot. Like, there was that clear division between the people that were nerdy and that were not nerdy. And then
sure,
they fleshed that out from the nerd side. You know what I mean? They fleshed it out so well, I thought. But then they don't twist it. Like, they don't stay there, and they fleshed out the fact that yes, we are different, but we are together, and we all came together to defeat this. But they all came together, and I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was beautiful.
I did too. That was great. There were also memes about like, wow, how did Max graduate when she was in a coma for a couple years? Okay, I have to say here though that like, as someone who's disabled who I missed about a year of elementary school in total when I had like through various like illnesses, broken bones, all of that. When I added up all the time, I was like, okay, I missed about a year. I never got held back. So I missed plenty of school throughout my grade school experience. So I'll give them a pass there. They also, I mean, come on, they endured collective trauma as a town. They can let these kids, go on and graduate. But yeah, so overall, I mean, there was there's the things I can impact. There's, things that like weren't as great as other seasons, but I thought overall, as one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite, it came to an overall satisfying conclusion. I do recommend watching the documentary. I will say, one of the things that's been pointed out is like, they reveal in there, I was surprised that they dropped this so close after the series ended, because like, while I love consuming this kind of stuff, I'm like, it gives a little too much info for right when the show ended. I feel like it would have been better drop it like months after or a year after. But I mean, they revealed that when they went into production on season 5, they hadn't had a finalized script for the series finale at that time, which is itself like a movie. And I'm like, that, doesn't make them look great there. I mean, that's not uncommon for particularly like longer form shows, like, back in the days of like 22, 23 episode. Yeah, they were writing those as they went. But, for one like this, where while they are longer episodes, it's only 8 episodes, and they had, a lot of time to plan. That's something they should have, probably locked in before. Nonetheless, it was fascinating to see, insight into the production, insight into the creative process. I mean, I'm a nut for all that stuff, so I do recommend checking it out. It was pretty cool.
The lost art of DVD features,
Yeah, exactly. That's what's being now. It's like now instead we've got Netflix documentaries and YouTube videos and stuff and all that. But yeah, so yeah. But overall, I mean, hey, it's Stranger Things. I'm always going to love it. And I was really happy getting to see that on the big screen the other night.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might be one of the last, like, the franchises or something that's fairly new to capture the world's eye. You know what I mean? Like, Stranger Things was a big deal.
Yes.
It was a big deal, and it came out of nowhere. You know, it came out of nowhere.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. Like, there are so many shows and movies now, and it's more like, I mean, I hate this word, but like, I like, of like, it's, content out there, a lot of that stuff, but like a pop culture sensation like this, like, it's huge. It's, I mean, if another happens like that, I think it's going to be a while, and I don't know what the next big thing will be.
I don't think that's a bad thing, like, because the streaming and internet has kind of changed the landscape of this kind of stuff. But I can see the value in, like, having small little pop culture things here and there. But yeah, but this was huge.
Sure.
But this was huge.
No, it's a great point. I mean, it's just rare that you get something of that magnitude. So I don't know what we'll see. I mean, like, we've got existing franchises, but I don't know if there will be something like this again or in the near future. Right. We'll see.
Right. Cool.
But we do have they did drop the teaser for the animated spinoff. Which I think it's a little soon to like do another one. They like there's good, but it looks fun though.
I know that we want to close up, but I went down a huge deep dive on what the Stranger Things, specifically season 1 and probably season 2, on what they were based on. Do you know what they were based on?
Like all the movies and stuff, or like influences, or you're talking about that book? What's it called?
The Montauk Files.
Or like the Montauk? Yeah.
Fascinating, wild conspiracy.
I've never read it, but like, yes.
Holy cow! I had no idea the level of just absurdity that might have happened. You know what I mean? like the stuff that these people were saying.
Yep. And they considered calling the series that back when.
Yeah. I thought that was fun because I had no idea.
It is fascinating.
I had no idea.
Yes. I didn't know that for a while, but I learned that. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's fascinating. No. So cool. Awesome. Well, Evan, this has been, I know we could go on and on, but we do need to wrap up here. So before we go, if you had to recommend either one of the things we discussed tonight or something totally different, what do you want to give a shout out to?
I'll throw in something completely different, and it's a theme park thing. Disney dropped on the Disney Plus streaming service. I don't know why I said it like that, but they dropped. It's a documentary of sorts, but it's more of a footage of the opening of Disneyland and how how it was such a time crunch and how they were able to put a whole theme park together in less than a year. It was insane.
Oh, I think I have seen that. Like, yeah. Because there's a lot of good behind the scenes stuff on Disney Plus.
Yeah. So a lot of things that they could not do today, for sure. A lot of OSHA violations and stuff. But that was a fun a peek behind the curtain. A lot of cool things.
The history of Disneyland and Disney World are fascinating.
Yeah. Whenever someone says, like, they pose a question about where would you go if you had a time machine, and the opening of Disneyland is what I want to do, because it's so filled with lore, and it sparked a whole industry that I love, so yeah.
Totally. Excellent choice. And For me, I'll start because I love Wonder Woman, and I want to touch back on if you want to see more of Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's work, definitely watch the Watchmen series if you've not. That came out in
episodes?
2019, I believe. It is 8 or 9.
Okay, cool.
I think 9. I want to say. So you can easily binge it over a weekend. It is some of the best storytelling you're gonna see. I mean, definitely not just in comic book but I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it helps if you've read the Watchmen comic, but honestly, you can go into it fresh and they tell you what you need to know. Like it serves as a sequel to Watchmen. And it crafts an original story. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, him, Regina King, Tim Blake Nelson, wonderfully written by Damon Lindelof and a bunch of other
did it?
creators.
I love Damon Lindelof. Yeah. All right.
It's, I think, one of the best things he's ever done. Yeah.
Better
than
Leftovers? Because, boy, I love Leftovers.
I've not seen Leftovers, but I need to.
Goodness.
Yeah, I know.
That's a show.
But this came out right after that, so okay. I mean, yeah, and he may have worked with the same people. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, that's one. So if you finish Wonder Man and are itching for more of Mateen's work, and you want to see just another great, character-driven, story-driven comic book property, that is an excellent one.
Cool.
So awesome. Well, Evan, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And for listeners out there, if you missed the live recording, hey, you can join our Facebook group to interact with us there. And, again, rate or review the show wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us. And I want to give a shout out to more of our Patreon subscribers, Justin Vaughn, Annette Knoll, and Aaron Hardy. You all rock. Thank you so much for your support. Absolutely. We love it. And remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests. Take care, everyone.
Hey, podcast fam, want to stay even more connected with the show? We've got you covered. Check us out on Instagram and Blue Sky, where we're posting exclusive content and bonus videos and fun updates that you won't get anywhere else. From sneak previews of upcoming episodes to bonus content, our social accounts are the best way to keep the conversation going. Plus, it's a great spot for you to interact with other listeners and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. When you follow us, it helps us grow and continue bringing you the content that you love. Whether it's a funny poll, a quick clip from today's episodes, or just random thoughts, you'll feel more plugged into everything we're doing. So go ahead and hit that follow button on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's one more way to be a part of the show and keep the good vibes flowing. Thanks for being a part of the family, and we can't wait to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Matthews, and I'm just here to share with you guys about the Anazao Network. Hope you guys could check out Page and Pixel, which is a podcast about books and video games. Another podcast we would love for you to check out is Your Matter Matters. It's a podcast that puts the and in faith and science. We got Let Nothing Move You with Christian Ashley going through the whole Bible, one chapter at a time. And last but not least, another one called Some Joyful Muses, a music podcast with no rhyme, rhythm, or reason. This show has no set schedule or host, but periodically has some members from the Anazao Network posting discussions about various musical topics, everything from Taylor Swift to the music of Adventure Time and more. So I hope you guys will give those a listen because I definitely will. As a matter of fact, I'm about to hit that subscribe button right now, and you should too.